Hi, welcome to Manohar Academy. In this lesson, we are going to start a new module on interfaces. This is the first lesson on interfaces. This is a very important concept, very simple, but it is very important, very powerful also. Okay, we know that Java has two kinds of data types. One is primitive and another is reference type. So we have been creating classes, something like person, student, employee. Whenever we are creating these classes, we are actually creating new reference types. Also, we know why they are called reference types because the objects has to be referenced through a reference variable. In Java, we have classes, we also have interfaces. So interface is also a reference type. What does that mean? So in case of interfaces also, you refer to objects using these interface variables. So this is how we create an interface. It is very similar to class. Instead of using the keyword class, we are using the keyword interface. But there is a main difference. So if they are same, we obviously won't have two concepts, but they are different and their syntax looks similar. So to create an interface, you use the keyword interface followed by interface name, then whatever is the interface definition. So as I said, classes and interfaces are different. So what is the difference? As we have created many classes, we know that classes provide the behavior by implementing the code. For example, we have a class called person, a P should be capital, and the person has a state which will be something like names, date of birth, gender. So he has date of birth, and we can create a method called getAge, which is the behavior, and we can calculate the age and we can return that. So whenever we are creating classes, we are talking about implementation. So there is a code and we are going to implement that code. Also there is encapsulation. So you don't show the fields, you hide the fields or you hide the data, but you show only the behavior. But when we are talking about interfaces, we are talking only about expected behavior. Interfaces doesn't have any state. So that means they don't have any fields. They don't have any member fields. So they don't have fields. So generally they can't provide the behavior most of the time because they don't have any state. You don't modify the state. So interfaces, they simply provide the expected behavior. So for example, they will define all the methods that should be there in the interface. So did we hear something like that? I mean, we have methods, but they don't have implementation. So a method that doesn't have an implementation is called abstract method, and a class that has at least one abstract method should be an abstract class. So interfaces can be thought of as pure abstract classes. So whenever you are extending an abstract class, for example, you are inheriting from an abstract class, then you should provide the implementation because abstract classes have abstract methods which doesn't have implementation. So you have to provide that implementation. If you don't provide the implementation, the child class will be abstract class. Same is true for interfaces also. So if you are inheriting from this interface, then you have to provide the implementation details. If you don't provide the implementation detail for this abstract method, actually this is the abstract method, then you will be abstract. So whenever you are inheriting or whenever you are implementing, whenever you are extending this interface, you have to provide the behavior. So as I already mentioned, interface can be thought of as pure abstract classes but with extra powers. What are those powers? We will see. Also, just remember there are two kinds of inheritance. One is implementation inheritance. So that is what we have seen so far. So we created a class called person, then we created a student which is extending person. So what is the benefit of extending person? First of all, to extend a person, the student should have a easier relation. That is, student is a person, so I can extend from person. As a result, the student is going to get all the fields, all the methods that are available from the person. So it is inheriting all the implementation details from the person. But when you are inheriting from a interface, we are only talking about interface inheritance. So only you are going to get the interface, that is comparable interface. So here, because student is extending a person, the objects, they will be we can say they are students and they are persons. A student is a person, but here we will say it is a student, also it is comparable. So it is inheriting that interface, but it is not inheriting any implementation because the interfaces doesn't have any implementation. They just have interface. When we say interfaces, we actually mean the visible behavior. So here you can take interface as visible behavior. So that is this particular method. Okay, here by extending or by implementing this interface, I am not getting any benefit. As you can see in the first example, when I am having the implementation inheritance, or when I am extending from a person, I am getting all the behavior from the superclass or from the person. But here, by extending a interface, I am not getting anything. And moreover, I have to provide the implementation details for compare to method. Otherwise, I have to define the student class as abstract. Okay, so what is that? I mean, why am I going the extra mile? Why am I extending this comparable? Actually, whenever you are extending from interface, you don't use the keyword extends, you should use the keyword implements. So we extend from a class, but we implement a interface. So what is the benefit of providing this implementation? We will see that in the next slide. So before that, let's see what is interface, whatever we already covered. So it is going to be fast. And why should you implement interface? So we know interface. What is interface? Interface is a reference type, just like class. Also, interface is a specification. So it is specifying the list of methods its child class should implement. It is not providing an implementation. So inherit interface is not a class. So whenever we are talking about classes, we are talking about implementation behavior. But whenever we are talking about interfaces, they don't have any implementation details. They just have specifications or just behavior, expected behavior. So this is interface. Then what is the benefit of conforming to a interface specification? The main benefit is you will get to use some services. For example, in the previous slide, we have seen that student extends comparable, not extends, it implements comparable. So here the student is implementing comparable interface. Now let's say we have array of students, we are populating that students, and then we can call arrays.sort service, which is the service provided by the arrays class, arrays utility class, for any comparable objects. Because student is now comparable, because it is implementing the comparable interface, the array can be sorted. This kind of behavior you don't get if you are extending a person. By extending person, you are getting the member methods, member fields, but you are not getting any extra services. But by implementing a interface, you get to use all the services that are available for this particular interface. So comparable is a interface. It doesn't have any implementation. I mean, it itself doesn't have any implementation. It is just giving you specifications, and by conforming to those interface specifications, you will be able to utilize all the services that are available for that particular interface. We are going to see some more interfaces in the next lesson. Also, we are going to see other features of interfaces. So here I just gave you how they differ from classes, what is interface, how it is different from class, and what are the benefits of conforming to an interface or implementing an interface. Okay, that is all from my side. Last but not least, if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe. If you are benefited from this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your friends so that they can also watch, they can also learn. See you in the next lesson. Thank you.